Well, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Arm Wrestling tonight. This is Hollywood Connelly with the double biceps that is in the contract, a legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. We are appearing on camera right now. The man to my right, it's not to my left. Depending on what's on the screen you are looking at, though, it could be different. It is the co-host, the co-founder, the co-breather of air, the co-wearer of clothes in this very, very room, not the virtual room, it's the real room this time. And it is none other than the master of disaster, the king of sting, the count of Monte Cristo. It is the microphone attacker. It is the Siberian bull. It is your friend and mine. It's the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award, the illustrious award, held by the illustrious man with the illustrious beard. There's the illustrious award right there. And it is none other than Dave Stockbridge.
Well, Hollywood Matt Connelly. I mean, it's wonderful to be here and in the studio with you once again. It's been a bit of a minute, hasn't it, since we've been in the studio together. And this is our very our latest studio here at the Moonshots complex. What do you think? Do you like it?
Yeah, it looks fantastic. You've done a great job. We've got the audience at home can't see. But we've got all the AWE shirts and some of the fighters that we've had on from the daily podcast as well. And yeah, you've done a tremendous job in here.
There was still some decorating to do. So we've got some very, very memorable moments from the world of AWE, which we'll be putting up here on the wall behind us. So you can see here, I think this is Laz Bolter, the South African superstar, of course, Lachlan Adair on there. We've got, of course, our former AWE Intercontinental Champion, Todzilla Hutchins, and our current AWE Heavyweight Champion there, and Rick Borman, and there's young Stephen and Big Ben, one of our referees, and Stephen the Squid. So some very memorable moments from AWE over recent years. There's some more memorable than others. Some you might like to forget, even maybe. So, and I won't. And I won't get too deep into that. But Marcus Tira. So some of these photos can be found on the AWE website, of course. But it'd be nice to have a bit of a competition to see which photos people would like to see up behind us here. What moments that people hold close to their hearts from the world of AWE. So that's one I particularly like. It's a bit hard to see on screen, but that's Tim Graham, our referee, in a moment of quiet reflection.
How can I call it an illegal elbow foul better?
Here's another one that I know is one of your favourites. If we bring that forward, try and make that face and see if you don't end up with some form of tism yourself. But that's an interesting one. There's some great photos, some awesome moments there, and we'll be getting them smattered on the behind us. Just for the time being, we've got this lovely little thing, but that'll soon be giving away to some of these great AWE moments as soon as we can wrap a frame around some of those. So there's still a little bit of work to do here and in studio, but Hollywood Matt Connelly, it's been a big few days in the world of AWE.
Absolutely, yeah, it's always big things happening here, and we've got lots of things that will be happening throughout the year, heading up to more events, and hopefully we're getting some sponsors and stuff like that as well. And you've got a thing you wanted to tell the kids at home about.
Oh, well, we can certainly share this with the kids now if you like. So one of those the sponsorship arrangements that we've now got in place is with the Raw store. So for those that don't know about the Raw store, the man behind the Raw store is one of our AWE superstars, Nick Vella, who he was our wild card entry at AWE Grand Prix 3, which was our middleweight title event just recently held, and certainly Nick surprised many with his performance in that event. And now looking at this website, it's now no surprise as to why he performed so well. So Nick, has a real particular interest in health and nutrition. Just one look at him would reveal that to you. But you can certainly see here where it's a very much a holistic approach that he takes to his own health, and it is that approach to health that he wanted to bring to the world. And this is his vision. It's the Raw Store, and it's a business that he runs with his wife. And you can see that everything from apparel made out of natural fibers to anti-aging solutions to nutritional supplements to strength and testosterone increasing formulas. They're all there. And what I will say is that before we ever get involved in anything, I always try before I buy. And so I snuck onto the website before we made this agreement with our friend Nick, and thought, oh, I'm just going to test out a few things. One, I wanted to make sure that when I ordered these things, they turned up in the promised time frame, because it's not unusual to jump on one of these websites and you put in an order, and a month later you're still waiting around to find out whether or not you're getting a package. And but within just a matter of a couple of days, everything I ordered turned up in the one package and on my doorstep, which was fantastic. I selected a range of items that I wouldn't have ordinarily, because I wanted to just kind of test things out. And I'm not huge on supplements, I will say, but the next thing I'm about to say is that I think the Raw Store has changed my mind on this, because I can legitimately, after nearly 2 weeks now of taking a range of these supplements, I can feel the difference. I slept, I'm 50 years old next month, and so sleeping through the night can sometimes be difficult. Normally about 3 a.m. I'm getting up and going and having a wee, and it's just enough to interrupt your sleep, just enough so that sometimes you can't get back to sleep as well. And this is just something that people, as they get to those, into their 40s and 50s and beyond, they'll share with you that this is a common experience. But last night I slept the whole night through, and actually the quality of my sleep has gotten better and better as well. So there's and it's part of that, the age hack formula just there. The NAD solution is something that's definitely been helping. I've been using the creatine, which I've found to be the most water-soluble creatine formula I've come across ever. It is absolutely outstanding. A teaspoon of that before I have a workout. Now, I work out moderately with moderate weights. I'm not setting any PBs these days, but and my workouts generally go for 15 or so minutes. They're not huge in depth. They're not Matt Connelly style workouts, but I can feel the difference. I'm getting a pump for the first time in years. I'm feeling great, and the next day I'm getting a bit of DOMS again, and I'm basically doing the same weights. And then the next day I'm feeling stronger, and I could almost do that workout again. I can only really accredit that to the creatine. There's testosterone there, which many of you be aware is a great testosterone support. So a great natural remedy there. And the Salagit, which I've been using Salagit now for maybe 3 or 4 months, and I felt there was a difference there. But I feel like in combination with these other things, it's the effect of Salagit has been turbocharged. So like I say, the quality of my sleep is a lot better. I feel like the Salagit has helped in restoring my natural testosterone levels, and really, I'm feeling better now than what I have in maybe 10 years. So sleeping better, feeling better. My skin. So I've been using the tallow on my face, and I've never really used moisturizers. I never liked the idea of putting like chemicals on my face, really, or on my skin. It's just
put them on other people's face.
Yeah, as much as I can smear them on others, but no. But the tallow, I feel like that's having a really positive effect. But my skin, where I'm not putting the tallow, so like on the back of my hands, and just generally, I was getting some irritation, and I wasn't sure whether that was just sometimes you get that from the washing powder that you might be using in your clothes or something like that. But whatever it was, it's now gone away, and I can feel that my skin's more supple, and that I can only guess it's the collagen's been restored, and I'm feeling amazing. So I can 100% endorse those supplements that we're using, that I'm using, and I'm sure if that's any indication as to quality of those supplements that have been vetted by Nick and his team, then we can wholeheartedly support you heading over there. And if you do type in AWE, you will get 10% off each and every time you visit the Raw store. So, so thank you very much for the Raw store coming on board with the AWE and giving us the opportunity to share that discount and these wonderful products with the rest of the world. So, and thank you to Nick, who's not only a fantastic arm wrestler, a great athlete, but somebody who's come up with a business. So we're getting some.
So the audio isn't great, but on our end, we're getting all clear signals. But yeah, so I'll play around with the background if you want to see if we can get it up and running. But yeah, from my side of things, it's saying it's all good.
Yeah. So maybe there is something there with the internet getting out of here that's because it does sound all good at this end. Ordinarily, when you're hearing that, we're hearing that as well. So we're just going to jump on there and see what we can do. It's all looking good from the
Getting levels
broadcaster. The levels are good. We haven't changed any of the setup from yesterday, so should be good. So we can only put that down to maybe internet coming out. So hopefully that remedies itself. Audio got static. Okay.
Don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, there's not at this point in time. There's not a lot we can do about it because we're live, and from our side, it says everything's working. So we'll have to go with it for the moment.
Yes. So sorry to those people that are experiencing those difficulties, but thank you very much for letting us know in the chat. So Raw store, everybody, head over there. AWE is the code. If you whack that in whenever you buy anything through the Raw store, you're going to get 10% off. So so head over there, support those people that support us and support the sport you love, and it will do everybody the world of good. And you never know, you might just feel better as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's obviously working for yourself, and which is tremendous. It's always great when somebody has products and when you try them out, they're actually really good. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, I really appreciate the fact that you told me about it or gave me a sample or whatever. One of the guys, Matt Berg, actually, we had on the Daily Combat podcast, who is very into the supplement world, and he had designed his own brand and come up with his own thing, and it took him a little while to get it up and running, maybe a couple of years. But from the initial concept, when he'd sent me, these are the designs, these are the ideas, this is what I want to do. It's like, great, that's awesome. And then I think maybe it's 2 years later before he actually had, it up and running. But when he gave it to me and I tried it, was really good because the flavors, I know he spent a lot of time to get the flavors right, and it tasted amazing. So yeah, it was like, wow, you've done a really good job with that. And that time you took to get it right is definitely valuable. So yeah, so Chris Gann is asking who's got the bigger arms. Well, Dave's arms are hidden. They're very surreptitiously disguised, but Dave's arms are actually bigger than mine. And he's almost 50 years old. So
next month.
That's right. Absolutely. A big 50. How does that feel of turning 50?
Yeah. So it's kind of not something I'd given a whole lot of thought to until the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And it's I had that moment when I was turning 40 where, I thought, if I don't get fit by the time I'm 40, I'm never going to get fit again. It's all downhill from there. And I really, really tried hard to get into really good shape by the time I was 40, just kind of like that was like a real line in the sand for me. This time around and lead up to 50, I haven't really felt that same pressure. And it's almost surreal because you think, 10 years ago is when I was saying those things. And in another 10 years, I'll be 60. And it's like, oh my goodness. Like it's certainly an interesting time. What I will say is that in my personal life, the circumstances are such that my family have now pretty much grown, and what older people say about things flying by so quickly and it's gone before you know it. That is 100% true. Our eldest boy moved out a few months ago. The youngest boy is now looking to go to uni interstate and fly the coop himself, and to feel like that whole stage of being a dad is almost over is that's something. That's something, and feel like that's all gone. That's kind of like a part of your life you think is gonna last, forever at some point. And all those school runs and all that, all of that's now over. And it all goes in the blink of an eye before you know it. And so, if you are one of those people and you've got a young family, then cherish those moments, because it is the best time of your life, and it won't last forever. So even if it does mean a bit of frustration in dealing with the school traffic, or spending cold nights at the netball courts or at the soccer grounds, or doing any of that type of stuff, you'll reflect upon those moments as being the best of your life. And when they're gone, they're gone forever. So certainly enjoy those. But that's kind of been the only moment of ponderance and I would say not regret, sadness, that's come with this particular milestone. But I'm very, very lucky that I've got a wonderful supportive group of people around me, and I still at this age I feel like the best is yet to come. I feel like the best is yet to come with AWE. I feel like the best is yet to come for arm wrestling. I see some wonderful athletes making their way through the ranks, which makes me super excited for what's to come. And when you've got athletes that are the age of my children, like Rickard Borman and Devan Borman, these are spectacular young men that are maybe once in a generation athletes that we're now seeing emerge. But what's really interesting is to me is that 10 years ago, somebody like Devan Borman would have found his way into another sport. He's a naturally gifted athlete. He could do anything, and yet it's 2025, and he's decided at the age of 16 that he's going to dedicate himself to the sport of arm wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's like this is what we talked about maybe 2 or 3 years ago when we were getting this AWE thing off the ground. Was what we wanted to do was provide a platform so that young guys making their way through, guys and girls making their way through the sport, could potentially see this as a pathway and as a career. And somebody like Devan, through his brother, who's a couple of steps ahead of him there in Rickard, for him to be able to see that there is a pathway now, and that he could make a living out of this sport, and this is a legitimate thing to dedicate your time to, and a worthy aspiration is what really excites me about the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's tremendous to see that the younger people, in those late teens, even up to 30, are choosing arm wrestling as that's the sport I'm going to go with, because they're not seeing it as a pastime or a pub thing anymore. It's like, no, this is a legitimate sport with real athletes at an elite level on the world stage. So the only thing that we would like to do more of is be able to put more events on, to be able to put more spotlight on the athletes that we've got, not only here in the Southern Hemisphere, but from all around the world, who are tremendous at the sport of arm wrestling. And if we could put an event on every week, we would. But we've got enough people that we could have fun competitive matches constantly. And it's lots of fun things that are happening for the sport of arm wrestling, for sure.
Indeed. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background that I'm super excited to share, but I know that we just can't at the moment. We've been working away tirelessly behind the scenes, and there's what I can assure everybody is that the rest of the world is watching AWE. The rest of the world is watching the sport of arm wrestling. There's names and figures and companies that are now paying attention to our sport who 6 months ago, 12 months ago were not. This is we're at the dawning of a new age, and this is something I often reflect upon that you said, Matt, 3 or 4 years ago, arm wrestling is in the same spot now as what MMA was 15 years ago.
Yep.
And you've drawn those parallels for as long as I've known you now.
Every
and
single conversation.
Oh, the UFC swear jar is just behind us actually still. So, you've really seen this arm wrestling as kind of almost emulating that evolution of MMA in a lot of ways. And so now, are we in? What stage are we in the incubation of the sport? If you had to compare it to the UFCs.
Yeah, I'd say it's still the early days for arm wrestling, but it is tremendous to see the growth over the last couple of years.
We haven't been banned yet, so that's good.
Yeah, exactly right. Yes, MMA, obviously, I mean, 1993 was the first UFC event, and they had maybe 14 of those before they did get banned, and it was John McCain, actually. Senator John McCain.
Yeah, that guy.
Who put it all out.
Yeah.
But eventually they managed to get back into the swing of things. But yeah, they had some very rough periods, and they almost, the original owners went under. They sold it out to the Fertitta brothers and Dana White. And yeah, you could see that I think they were about 30 million in the hole after purchasing. And it wasn't until the Ultimate Fighter show that it really started to turn around for them. Then live shows were getting an audience, but it wasn't covering the bills. It wasn't getting them to that next level. So I could see arm wrestling in that position where the progression we've made in the last year, but especially over the last 5 years, when I've been in sport for 6 now, but from when I started to where it is now, I mean, the club was on Tim Graham's driveway, and it was 3 of us.
Yes.
Now we've got 40 people turning up every week in a proper community centre with 12 tables, and just that alone. And then seeing the amount of clubs that are popping up around the country, and Queensland's got like 12 clubs now, and yeah, the sport is growing bigger and bigger, and people are very excited about tournaments that are coming up, and they know all the characters. And you talk to people just in general in the gym, and the first person they always bring up is Devon. This tall Canadian Special Forces guy. Do you mean Devon? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But just the fact that people know someone that's an arm wrestler, it just shows how much more aware that the world is that this sport is a legitimate thing.
But one of the interesting things that I've observed in thinking about those parallels is that UFC went through that stage where initially there were no rules, and you had guys being punched in the balls, and that was all legit, and that was fine. You didn't have any weight categories and all of that, and then slowly over a period of time, as the sport sort of become more watchable, more commercial, the rule set started to kind of solidify and crystallize into what we see today. So certainly even in the last few years, we've seen East versus West adapt many AWE innovations, I would say, when it comes to making the sport more watchable in terms of that rule set. There was a time, where you wouldn't have seen little bobbles get past the ref, and that would have been a foul, and whole matches were kind of fouled out, for instance, and not making the sport particularly watchable from a TV perspective. But now we're seeing a more watchable version. We're seeing strong advocates for that in Devon Larratt in particular. And just let the guys get their own grip. We're starting to see people advocating for that type of thing, which is something that you introduced very early on in AWE. Wanted to see the athletes get their own grip, regardless of whether or not that was fair or in accordance with what WAF wanted. If the athletes were happy, you were happy, let's just go and see who makes the best of that. Which we've seen these things starting to evolve, and we're starting to see the best elements of these different rule sets start to crystallize. We're starting to see some evolution in terms of the tables. We're starting to see some kind of far out ideas, and then we're seeing some finessing with just lengthening of the pads and just some finessing at the edges, but nonetheless, there's constant evolution going on in terms of the tables, in terms of the expectations of the refs, in terms of what the athletes want to see, and then of course we're going to see the commercial interests play a role. As right now we have a sport that's not really watched on free-to-air TV, so it doesn't have to keep the attention of the average punter. But for as long as it stays on pay-per-view, it can get away with maybe not being as watchable, and maybe having that rule set that might be frustrating to say anything less than the purists. But in order for the sport to reach a broader audience and to maintain that audience's attention, it really does need to see that evolution, and it is taking place. And I credit you with a lot of those changes that we're now seeing around the world. There's a lot of ideas that weren't necessarily out there that since AWE won, we've started to see other promotions incorporate.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's one of the important things about evolutions of sport, is that you do have to make those adjustments and changes if you're trying to find your audience. And what a lot of people are not that cluey on is that every decision that you make, if you're running an organization or a promotion, it should be about getting the most attention and the most revenue and the most profit that you possibly generate. Otherwise, you're just going to fail. And even if you have your best interests in heart and all the rest of it, the money's not there. The money's not there. So from that perspective, when you're looking at putting people on cards or having different rule sets or different table designs, it's all based around, well, what are people going to want to watch? Will people sit there and put up with a 10-minute setup to see a slip? Right now on pay-per-view, they don't have a choice, really. I mean, they want to see the best guys going against each other on, say, an East versus West card. And that's where you're going to run into that. You're going to get a match that's first to three and it takes an hour, legitimately.
Yeah.
And there's 15 matches on the card.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, seeing the changes that people are making through different promotions, and same with us with AWE, we're trying to find the exact formula that's going to present the best for not only the people that are in the room, but the people that are watching and the people that are watching it on stream as well. So that is another element that a lot of organizations have really messed up, is the streaming element. And they might have done a tremendous job in person, and the 300-400 people, if they can get a crowd that big, have a tremendous time in the room. And if that's their goal, is just that's what we do, we just do the live thing, and the stream is like an afterthought. But it's very obvious for the people that are watching the stream that this wasn't done well.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to want to shell out your money and go, they didn't really care about me watching this, so yeah, it would have been great if I was there, but it's on the other side of the world, or it's a flight away from me, so I'm not going to be in person. And plus, just the reliability issues and people having connective problems and all the rest of it have really plagued a lot of the growth, I think, from people just purely being frustrated. And if you try to get an event and it doesn't work, or it drops out halfway through, or the sound's off, or it just looks terrible, you're like, I'm probably not going to buy this again.
Yeah.
And so I think that has really harmed a lot of the potential that's been out there. Which is why it's been so great that we've had very good streaming service when we've been doing our live events, and credit to the production crew that we've put in place to do that. But from our perspective, it was, we don't know how to do this at the level where we want it to be, or we may be able to do it, but I would rather somebody who's an expert and does this for a living. Here, this is what we want you to do. I don't care how you do it. I don't want to know. Don't tell me all the jargon stuff, because when Chris was messaging me with all these static numbers and stuff, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're asking. But so just those little things that if you do them right, really allow the sport to be presented well, so that if somebody's watching for the first time, even if they have no interest in arm wrestling whatsoever, but then you go, they go, what are you watching? It's arm wrestling. They're like, arm wrestling. Yeah, have a look. And if they're like, oh, well, if it's a back and forth crazy war between a couple of big guys, it's like, that was fun. I was excited. And it's so easy to understand. It's like, well, he's just trying to get his arm there. He's trying to get his arm there. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
And I think if they were shown that and it was 10 minutes of messing around and then they said go and they slipped, and it was like, what happened?
How do you explain that to somebody?
Yeah. Well, now they have to be strapped together. We have to set them all up again.
How long do we have to wait for that?
It's like, oh, man.
10 minutes. All right.
And then it ends on fouls. You're like, yeah, probably won't be watching this again.
Yeah, it's a real careful balance, isn't it? And you know, with most sports, they're balancing out the purists who have an expectation about how the sport should be, and then you've got those people that are looking to broaden the audience. And with a sport like arm wrestling, where the purists have done a great job in maintaining the tradition of the sport, but haven't done a great job in spreading the word and permeating that the consciousness of the commercial world in order to get it on free to air TV, get it in to big venues, get thousands of people turning up to watch an event, not having more than one person in the sport recognized by the general public. These are the things. I think when we look a little bit further back, we can see in sports like golf, it's golf was one of those obscure sports 60 or so years ago, and then you had your Palmers and your Nicklases and these guys that were, you mightn't have followed golf, but you knew who Jack Nicklaus was. And then in the 80s it was Greg Norman, and then Tiger Woods, and these sports have often centered on the personality of a few people, but it's been those few people that enabled the sport to kind of punctuate into the public consciousness. And if it wasn't for a Jack Nicklaus and if it wasn't for Greg Norman, would golf be in that place that it is today? And the answer to that is probably no. But the fact that there's been somebody on the other side of those eras who's been able to pick up the baton and move the sport forward has been really pivotal to those sports' success. And it does raise the question of what happens in a post Devon Larratt world for the sport. Who is going to be that next person, or is it a group of people? So we have seen that in the UFC, though. We have seen those figures kind of come and go, and similarly the seamless a changing of the guard has occurred from one era to the next, from one champ to the next, and they've been able to carry that forward and build momentum. And even in, with the name as big as Conor McGregor, there was still a world after Conor McGregor when it came to the UFC. How do you see that transition happening in arm wrestling?
It's interesting because obviously Devon is the face of the sport, and people, as we said before, who've never watched arm wrestling or who doesn't have any interest in it, they still have heard of him, and that carries a lot of weight because how did they hear about him? Probably through YouTube, probably through social media somehow. Maybe he was with Juju Mufu or whatever, and they were doing a collab video, which really brought in a lot of attention, as well as guys like Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall, who are getting into arm wrestling as well, and having those huge inbuilt audiences. Larry Wheels as well. That really brought a lot of people into seeing arm wrestling for the first time, going, "Oh, this is a real thing? Oh, okay, that's interesting." So seeing the progression of that and then comparing it to where is it at the UFC? The UFC very cleverly never put all of their eggs and stock into one person. They would have stars, they've got superstars, and they promote the hell out of them, but they ensure that the rest of the product is still driving forwards. So if you lose that star, or he retires or gets injured, or he's not going to be able to fight for 2 years or whatever, you've got 400 other people that are there to take the event. You're still going to get UFC events, and it's the actual company that people are wanting to watch. It's, yes, they're interested in, say, McGregor or Ronda Rousey or whatever, but they know that they're a UFC fighter. And it's that correlation, because Conor would never have gotten those accolades or that attention if he wasn't fighting in the UFC. So that side of it is really important. And we're seeing that with arm wrestling, with Devon. People will watch him compete. And if he's on the card, they make money. If he's not, they don't. So it's difficult when you've got somebody in that position, because it's like you need to have the underlying superstars that are emerging that you're promoting as well as your top guy. Because if you're just relying on him to fill out every single card, it's going to take a lot of effort. And if anything goes wrong with, maybe the match with him is terrible, the rest of the matches may have been great, but it's like, but if you're relying on him only, it can be very difficult. So, yeah, we've got some interesting comments here, some questions that I wanted to get to quickly before we're getting out. So we've got Chris Glenn, who asked about who's got the bigger arms. Dave has the bigger arms than me. Rikard has got a tough opponent next, I think, Pavlo Devinyev. Absolutely. He is a legend of arm wrestling, has been around for a long time at the elite level. He is a very, very tough opponent. But if anyone can do it, it's going to be Rikard Bormann, the rising star, and it would really cement him as one of the elites in the sport for sure.
He was in Wallace Dilly's corner at the last East versus West. So that was a very interesting observation by Rikard. So I wonder if there's a bit of a conspiracy there. There's been a planned attack for some time.
Maybe he was in the corner like, Wallace, you should have done this. Like, fine, I'll go and do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll show you. Terrence Opperman is in as well. He says, hi, hello to you, Terrence, one of the best arm wrestlers going around in the world.
I wouldn't mind touching on Terrence Opperman after we've gone through the comments.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Cobus Prinz is also in. He says, good day, guys. And he also says hello to Terrence. Very nice of him to do that. Fellow South African. Lad Russo says, the early days of MMA were wild and beautiful. They also got the sport banned, but but they were exciting and crazy.
Do you remember waiting for the VHS to turn up at the video store and it would be like the match would have happened like three months ago, or the card was 3 months old, but it was just brand new in the VHS and you'd rush down there as soon as it came out to had it on pre-order, watch it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, so good.
Chemo.
There was a rumor that he had died, and he sleeps really late in the day, and it wasn't until like 2 p.m. that he woke up and actually had to deny it. But it was like from 7 a.m. through the whole day, there was all these reports.
R.I.P.
And he's like, what's going on? Oh no. Cobus Prinz, some grants talking to Cubs here. Therese Rickard's profile globally, I'd like to see him pull someone like Brian Shaw or Eddie Hall. This is less about arm wrestling and more about marketing.
Well, Grant Law does have the marketing mind. He is your PR expert, so he knows a thing or two about that. This is an interesting comment.
But yeah, if Rickard wins, who do you think will be a good match for him besides Terrence Opperman?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of Pavlo as the next obvious choice. I think there was a lot of people that were calling for Schoolboy to be his next match. I think that's maybe because they're similar in size, they're similar in age, they're both rising stars in the sport. Most people know roughly where, say, Schoolboy's level is, and so it'd be a good yardstick to see where Rikard sits. I've heard voices on the other side of the equation saying that's not a great match for different reasons. I also think, more to Grant's point, that would have been a good match to raise Rikard's profile because, of course, the young Russian's got such a huge audience behind him and a huge YouTube channel. And so, I would have thought Schoolboy versus Rikard would serve that function of boosting Rikard's profile. Also, big match for Schoolboy to take out that new kid on the block. That would have been an interesting one, but they've gone with Pablo, who's a genuine super heavyweight, strong guy, big reputation. There's no doubt he's a serious arm wrestler. So, how's Rikard going to perform there? If Rikard comes up with a win from there, you kind of would say that kind of pushes him into that top echelon of the dozen or so super heavyweights, and then every match selection for Rikard now has to be strategic, whereas I know he's just been grateful for the opportunity to be performing on the biggest stage in the world. I think if Rikard comes away with a win at the next East versus West event, triumphs over Pablo, then he's going to have to start strategically stepping out which matches he's going to take in order to edge closer and closer and closer to that world title. So it starts to become really critical after getting that would be his third international win in a row, or third win outside of Australia, fourth win in a row. He's been undefeated since AWE2 then, which was his first match on a big stage. You would say he was basically just been training for a year or two. Jumped on the training tables in Queensland, and within a month or two found his way onto the AWE2 stage, and lost out on that occasion narrowly to Mario Tambakis, who is a rising star in his own right, and come off some very impressive victories over in the US. But since that, Rick remains undefeated, and we'll touch on a little bit about that and what that means for Terence Opperman as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Lad Russo follows up that comment with Rickard versus Schoolboy would be huge for his popularity, but if he does well versus Pablo, it will make him more legitimate. No offense to Schoolboy.
You'd have to agree with that sentiment. Yeah, I think the same. I think a win against Schoolboy would have been a big move sideways for him, but would have increased his marketability and popularity, and maybe his brand just generally, especially if he had an emphatic victory against Schoolboy. I think it would have been good for those reasons, but would have it answered any questions about his capability? And maybe not so much, but a win against Pablo definitely makes him legit and sets him up for a 2026 where each match edges him closer to a title match.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Lad Russo says, I think creating a story and getting people to care about the athletes is a way to get them interested, even with a slower pace. Absolutely. Yeah. Building that story and getting people interested, giving them a reason to watch. Why should I care is always the answer you should be trying to provide. And it's like, what are you watching? I'm watching this. Why should I care? Because these two guys hate each other. He cheated on his girlfriend with him, and he's like really pissed. And it's like, you just sit down and watch it.
and you've said from the start that an Ultimate Fighter style of series would do the sport the world of good. And we know there's figures in the US that have been working in that direction to try and bring the arm wrestler stories out in a reality TV style format. And and I believe I might have seen a post the other day to say something may be coming to ESPN2 along those lines very, very soon. So we wish the team over there are we able to say who that is?
Yeah, that's right.
It's out there. Yeah. It is out there.
Yeah,
I just didn't
it, yeah.
Okay, so Greg did. Okay, so Greg Sharp and the team have been working very hard on that concept, and have already done some work in that space before. And Greg's taking it all to a whole new level and investing heavily into this concept. And he's got the house going. He's got the professional camera crew there. This is really doing all of those things that we would love to do with an unlimited budget. Greg is doing it right now and putting his money where his mouth is, and is testing the boundaries. And we wish them all the very best of luck. And because this is not Devon Larratt in a house. This is, a bunch of guys that are trying to make their name in the sport of arm wrestling. Some of them are well known to us, but mightn't be well known to the rest of the world. And this is their chance to become household names. We're wishing Greg and the team all the very best this upcoming season on ESPN2. It's I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, Greg again is an innovator in that media space and has been developing his fast channel all around arm wrestling, so 24 hours of arm wrestling. So if we complain that we can't get free to wear content out there to the world, well, it's not Greg Sharp's fault. He's definitely doing his very best to ensure that the sport of arm wrestling punctuates the consciousness of the sporting world. So
absolutely. No, yeah, for sure. And Cobus Prinz says, I have so much respect for the production people and all the people behind the scenes to keep people engaged and get new eyes on the sport. Hats off to you. Thank you very much, Cobus. Yes, the production side is incredibly important. That's why we leave it to the professionals. Lad Russo, the chat is both for me. I only see no messages. Sandy, I do bring up all the messages on the screen for you so you wouldn't have missed any. It's because we broadcast to 5 different channels at once, that you may be in a channel just by yourself.
Indeed.
Last one here from oh no, we did see that and Mama Neng is here. I can't bring up my comment for some reason. I think it's because it's an emoji, but nice to see you. Thank you for your comment.
Yes, thank you very much. That was lovely. So I did want to touch on, before we head away, Terence Opperman. So Terence Opperman has been making some posts over the last week or so, a little more regularly than what we would have seen from Terence before, which kind of piqued my curiosity as to what's going on over there in the Opperman camp. We know that Androkis Groot had their big event just 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I just pictured Grant Law like having a heart attack with the way you said this.
Apologies to the Afrikaners in the chat. But Androkis Groot. Is that right?
I'm sure.
AIG, forever known as AIG. AIG had their big event a few weeks ago, and featuring some of the best pullers in South Africa. And they've been doing great things there. They've had regional qualifiers for this event. They've had guys from the north and guys from the south, and they've brought them all together. And they've so it's been huge. And Terence, of course, came out on top. On right arm, but not on left. But he made this post afterwards kind of alluding to the fact that, it's good that Rick is getting these opportunities at East versus West. But you can tell that Terence kind of feels like he is still the man, and he is still South Africa's number one. And if there's going to be a South African on an East versus West stage, then it should maybe be him. And he's kind of put it out there to say, I'm still the number one in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know if there's any Southern Hemispheric association or federation that hands out those belts. So it seems like a self-styled title. And I don't know if that's a little bit like we do in Australia when we say, we're number one in Australasia,
right?
But it's really just Australia.
Yeah. It includes Tasmania.
That's right. Or, we just assume because we're the best in Australia, we're the best in the Southern Hemisphere. Maybe they're drinking some of that Kool-Aid down there as well. But there's probably a few claimants to that particular title. So Terence Opperman right now is claiming number one right arm South Africa and number one in the Southern Hemisphere. But a couple of other names do come to mind when you start thinking about this a little bit more. I think Riekert definitely he's undefeated now for a little while. But he's growing bigger and stronger by the day. He's had more international wins than anybody else in the Southern Hemisphere over the last certainly over 2025. So far this year, he's had more international victories at a high standard, and he's also the AWE heavyweight champion. So and of course, Terence is the AIG heavyweight champion. So, you might say there's some equivalency in those two titles. But then you've got Lachlan Adair, who still remains undefeated in the Southern Hemisphere. I don't think Terence has got a win on him.
I don't think they've faced each other, no.
I don't think they've faced each other, yeah. And same with Riekert and Lachlan on a competitive table. Since Riekert's secured that AWE heavyweight title back now maybe a year or so ago, Lachlan and Riekert have not met on a table. So you've got these 3 men that are nominally, two that definitely claim to be number one in the Southern Hemisphere, and Lachlan Adair and Terence Opperman. And then you've got Riekert Borman in a private conversation confirmed that he feels like he can beat both of those guys. So we're in this unusual situation in the Southern Hemisphere right now where you've got 3 great athletes that are kind of making a claim to this title that doesn't really exist, but making a claim for number one in the Southern Hemisphere. And what's really interesting is that none of them have competed against each other at the highest standard. What does that mean for the rest of this year in 2026? Are we going to see this as an undisputed match? Are we going to start to see these 3 guys collide? And are we going to see this settled sometime in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, these are the questions we'd love to see answered. And I think as a fan of arm wrestling, just first and foremost, I want to see as much as possible. And I'd love to see Terrence versus Rickard. I'd love to see Terrence versus Lachlan. I'd love to see Lachlan versus Rickard. If you had it on every weekend, I would watch it. But yeah, it's a big question mark because you want to see these guys go against each other. There's a lot of elements that have to come into it. Obviously, you've got the travel, the expense of tickets and production and all the rest of it to get things happening. But yeah, if we can work it all out, then there's definitely matches that we can put together that I think everyone will want to see.
Indeed. And Cobus makes the comment here, let's get the top 10 Australians versus the top 10 South Africans. And yeah, this is actually really expensive, as it turns out. So if you run the maths through that, it's a $40 to $50,000 exercise. And so that is something we would all love to see, though. And I think that there's some great matches along the way, and it'd be very, very interesting to see how our respective nations level up against each other, and it would be interesting to see what the fantasy team of that might be as well. If we're putting together that top 10 in Australia, who and I guess we'd be picking weight categories, so maybe two from each of the weight categories. How do you see that?
Yeah, potentially. The funny thing is, because Australia is still one of the emerging nations, our top 10 may include people who are not in the super heavyweight division, like Darren Broad, for example.
Yes,
he was under 90 kilos, and he's beating super heavyweight guys. So yeah, we've got a bunch of guys that would be incredibly competitive against, I think, most teams around the world. And I think individuals will do better than others, but it does depend on the styles and what comes down to. But our top 10, I think, would be very, very competitive.
Yeah. There's it is. It's an interesting. It'd be interesting to work out what kind of format would be good. We know the financials behind it, so it's a matter of if there was $50,000 to be spent on an arm wrestling event, is that the event that would get enough attention to make it viable? This is the other thing. In theory, if everybody just turned up in Mauritius in the middle of of our two respective countries, maybe, and we got an arm wrestling table over there on the Frock of Friendship, then maybe there's a chance. But it is an expensive exercise, unfortunately. And we ran the math through with our friends in South Africa, and for them to come to Australia works out to be the equivalent of 4 times more than what it would cost for us to get to South Africa, which is not a cheap thing to do in the first place. So is it financially viable? Maybe not, but you know what is viable? East versus West paying for some of these matches to get a Terence Opperman or a Rickard Baumann or a Lachlan Adair on the table. That would answer some of the questions, and I think that would be really cool to see all of those great arm wrestlers from the Southern Hemisphere kind of come together and represent their various countries and really bring the attention back to this half of the world. We talk about East versus West, which normally means America versus the rest of the world. But the reality is that there's a whole world outside of that, and we get the opportunity to talk to our friends in the Pacific region and get to hear what their enthusiasm for arm wrestling grows by the day. There's arm wrestling is growing everywhere around the world right now, and it's great whenever these respective regions get to be part of the discussion. And South Africa is enjoying that at the moment, particularly because of Rickard Baumann, Terence Opperman. You got that young line, old line dynamic that's playing out between those two great athletes, and of course you've got some fantastic emerging talent in behind that, in Devan and others, McMuchie. I think that's how you might pronounce his name. If I've said it incorrectly, I do apologize. But you got some strong guys just sitting there, just waiting for their opportunities to burst onto the world stage. So very exciting times for South African arm wrestling and arm wrestling in all of these smaller countries on this side of the world.
It's always good when somebody has an easy version of their name and then like a very complicated, so like Pavlo. You can say Pablo.
Pablo.
Debenenyev is a bit
Debenenyev. I think his name's John. I should have just gone with John.
John.
But John from South Africa, that guy. But at least if I get his name wrong, but I've tried, you'll know which one I'm talking about.
Yes. It's like when Joanna Jacek from the UFC was the champion, and the announcers could not say her name. They had to call her Joanna Champion.
Well, that's about it from us. We hope you've enjoyed the new Amdruk ist Groot is Amdruk ist Groot. That's the official pronunciation as offered by Grant Law, the world's only Scotsman from South Africa living in Australia. Yeah. So
It doesn't sound like any of them.
No, that's right. It sounds like he's from Liverpool or Birmingham. So Cobus is back in.
Yes, he says a lot of South Africans have already got sponsors to compete at the Worlds in November, so I don't think it would be such a big problem getting the money to compete in Austria. I think you meant Australia. If suddenly we're going to Europe,
Austria makes it even more expensive for us.
If the event is properly promoted, that would be tremendous if we could do that. Obviously, the expense of logistics is one of the big hampering issues at this point in time. But we might look at wrapping this up, and thank everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
Final thoughts, Dave?
My final thoughts, I'm super excited about what's to come. I love our new set, a new home of AWE here. Very, very excited for what's to come. I want to thank again Nick, Vella and the team over there at the Raw store. If you haven't already, jump online, check out the Raw store. And if you do want to buy something, get yourself 10% off by entering the code word AWE. So thank you very much to all those people in the chat. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us again and for supporting AWE and Hollywood Matt Connelly before we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for watching. We'll be back. Keep an eye on the channel. We normally do around 7:30 in Adelaide time, which I think in PST is 6 p.m. No, 6 a.m. 6 a.m. I've got to reverse it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Miami time I'm always thinking of. That's all good. All right. Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. We will finish it there and have a good day.